Hi and welcome to this month's work in progress video for the process diary. Today's tutorial will take us from cleaning up some of the edge loops on the character's head and adding in the ears. This is going to begin to detail the mesh before we go on to the other two bits. It will also incorporate some subsurf modifying and how this can actually help in editing our mesh so that we kind of get a more accurate representation of the finished product as we're modeling. So we have our head from where we left off in the previous tutorial. To make things just a little bit easier, I'm going to take away the background image just by clicking on the Use button in my background images panel. It's also up on 3, but it's just not visible because it's in perspective view. Now, the next thing I want to do is go into vertice mode and select all my face vertices. These are the first ones that I'm going to neaten up. And I'm going to go down into my mesh tools, hit select swap, and hide. This way I can toggle between object mode using my tab key and see that the whole head is there, or hit my tab key again and focus just on the vertices that I am going to be looking at and editing. At any time I can go back down and say hit reveal and those vertices will appear again. But let's just keep them hidden for now. Alright, looking over here at our front view, I noticed that I could be looking at these edge loops a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and probably just delete these inside vertices because they'll just start to mess things up and they're going to be re-edited anyway. The first edge loop that I'm seeing that is in error is this one here coming off the nose and around. This should really tuck under the chin here. So I'm going to select this edge and delete it, hitting my loop cut key. Going to add a loop here on the chin and then move this vertice down over here. And you can already see how the radial pattern of the mouth is looking a lot better. Quite possibly we won't need this vertice at all here, so we'll go ahead and delete that. We might be messing up the chin for a little bit, but that's okay. We'll be getting back to that and neatening that up, flattening that out again. Now, while we're on the subject of edge loops, let's take a look at what the nose is doing here. I mean, it's not too bad, especially for a cartoon character. We'll definitely have to move these vertices up to form this crease around the nose. But one thing that we would have to do is probably merge this edge loop in with this top one, probably getting rid of this edge loop altogether. But this may cause a triangle here. So I'm going to go ahead and merge those. I'm not personally averse to too many triangles. I mean, they're quite problematic when it comes to things like UV unwrapping and trying to keep your edge loops consistent for the purposes of mapping textures. But I'm more of the mind of keeping your triangles to a minimum. Okay, so let's see what this nose looks like if I scale it down in the Z direction to 0. And that's looking okay. The mouth needs to sort of have a radial pattern as well. I'm not quite satisfied with the width of the mouth, so I'm going to grab some of these vertices and move them in. We may indeed need a little bit of extra detail around the mouth and even this upper lip here. But you'll notice that if I get my K button and put in a loop there, you'll notice how the pink line goes right up to the nostril. What we want to do instead is have this go around and form a line around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this edge, throw in a loop cut here. I'm going to sort of just center that by moving my cursor to selection and hitting my C key. Now when I pivot, the pivot goes around the cursor again. So now we can start to build loops around the mouth. This might be an extra one actually, because if we say join up that loop there, actually no, this works perfectly well. We've got this nice radial looping from around the mouth coming out to the nose, incorporating the nose, and overall this is a much better configuration for the mouth and nose. This quad here can be filled in because the way that these edge loops work is that this edge loop that I'm indicating here in the front view on the left should be able to meet up with the overall face loop, which goes from chin to forehead, and that should also incorporate the eye loop over here. Okay, so we've quite definitely gone and ruined a few things over here in object view. So what I'm going to do next is actually add a subsurface modifier. I could have done this at the beginning. I'm going to set that to smooth. This will give us a better indication of what is going on when we edit the mesh around here, and I'm also going to reveal the rest of the vertices here. I'm going to remove these throat vertices here. Also going to remove this vertice here around the ear. The reason being is that this hole is going to be where we eventually extrude the ear. And let's see how many vertices we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The perfect number of vertices for an ear. But I'm going to continue this sort of loop around thing to come down under the chin in a second. But first of all, I'm going to go ahead and extrude these edges back. I might just flip this view up a little bit, maybe scale in the Y direction. I love these constraints to direction because I can be in a view as interesting as this, and still I know where my, if I say hit my G key, my Y direction, my X direction, and my Z direction are, and I can know that my my vertices will be going in those directions. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just sort of smooth this lot out, and of course this quad here, maybe just move that in the X a little bit. These will then extrude down to form this neck. Now don't worry about this, so I can get rid of this vertice here for now. But already we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vertices in the front here. Let's move that up a little bit in the Y, sort of massage these around a little bit. But this still gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a total of 16 vertices for the neck, and I'm sure we can get that number way down. I think the number I'm looking for is around about 11, so I'm actually going to delete all of those. And I'm going to start working on this area here, because the head definitely needs a little bit of smoothing out. I'll probably switch over into top view for this bit over here, so that I can sort of see where these vertices are going in the X direction. Won't really need to hide any of the face vertices in this one, just because under here there aren't that many vertices to see through the mesh. Over here you can see there's a whole bunch of them. Let's see what these loops are doing. This is quite interesting. I won't worry so much about what's going on here, because this jaw will then feed into this ear. Although I will, for the sake of getting a little bit more detail in the face, add this, which will bring our ear total up to 9, which means we could probably afford to get rid of one of these vertex bits, and maybe even move this vertex down into this area over here. Now start to form this ring around here. Might help to get rid of these. They might be a tad confusing. And we might add another row here on the throat, because somehow I think that these ones should meet up at some point, and that the head vertices should sort of come down into around about the neck area. Okay, so if we were to bring this down here, so let's just massage some of these into shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, we've got our nice 8 around there. This would be a quad. Let's push this out in the Y direction a little bit. Push that out in the Y. Maybe we'll do that in the top view over here. So let's see where you are. Yep. Which means that this one will come up sort of like a spider web kind of thing. Can stay there. Yep, so that'll go there. Let's bring that down there. And let's just go around a little bit. Okay, that meets up nicely there. This means that this row here might meet up with this bit of the head loop. Getting this sort of a spoke configuration will work to a point before we actually have to begin to bring everything back. Such as, okay, so this is definitely going to be a neck vertice. Definitely gonna, let's see what it looks like from the front here. Probably looks a little bit too spindly right now, so let's just get a bit more. In there, which means that these will come around here and then end up pretty much going down the back of the neck. So we can probably just fill in these faces here. Let's see what we got. We may need an extra loop there to get the quads just right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's a little messy right now. See if we can't sort of make this a little bit more circular around the neck, because what we really want to do is get everything as smooth as possible and lines to flow in ways that they sort of need to move. Yeah, that would probably go out that way. Don't quite like what's going on here, but it is sort of better than what we had before. So let's just count these vertices again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes, our vertice counter was also saying 11 up there. So yes, we do have the required number. So now it's just a matter of just neatening things up, just sort of smoothing things out, making sure that you know, we're going to make this guy look nice and chunky and buff and all that good stuff. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is just to start using these subsurfaces to sort of draw out the bits that are going to be a little bit more angular, so to speak. So first off, we know that this jaw around here is going to be angular, but I'm going to have to do something before I do even that. And that is to select all of these jaw vertices, scale them in the Z direction, and re-rotate them out. So we've got our nice flat jaw. And I think our Y direction is doing just fine. So we want to grab these vertices around here. I'm going to hit my N key, and you see this little thing underneath here that says median crease? Well, that's the weight of the actual crease. If I start to increase that, look at what happens to the jaw. You'll notice that it's getting sharper. So that if I go out of edit mode now, you'll actually see that the jaw now has a much sharper edge. I'm going to increase that by grabbing these throat vertices around here and sharpening them up. I won't do the one around the ear so much. I think I'll just give them about a 0.6. And that's starting to really give me that definition on that character. I'm just going to bump this resolution up a little bit more. That's nice. And so now I can start really smoothing out a lot of these vertices to just sort of start getting this character looking more like I want. Now, mainly, the job is to neaten things up and make things look as smooth as possible for this character. So this is what actually takes most of a modeler's time, and it's that constant tweaking and pulling and pushing of vertices to get just the right look and feel to a character. We've done the basics. We've gotten through sculpting this character to get it to a point where which allows us to now take a look at well, the more important details. I might go ahead and okay, so that one's collapsed. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe increase the crease on that. This whole eye region, I've wanted to do something about this, scaling it in the Z and then rotating it out to give this character a very kind of a prominent brow, but something that looks almost well, I've been trying to go for this whole cartoony look to the characters. Okay, so this head, I've jumped ahead a little bit. This is not quite the here's one I prepared earlier. I've just spent about an hour or two tweaking and massaging the vertices into this head, and I've also added a material which is actually, just for a point of interest, it's a shadeless material. But I'll be getting to this in a future tutorial when we start looking at the model in render phase. The next thing we're going to be doing is adding an ear. Now, remember how I was counting the vertices around the ear hole, and that we had them at about 8 vertices. This is really good for a circular sort of a configuration, and we can sort of see what it looks like in the front and the top view. What I'm going to do is select some of the vertices around this hole. This ought to do it. I'm going to select swap and hide, because I don't entirely want to create an ear and then attach it, because then there's a lot of messing around with trying to get the vertices just right. So what I'm instead going to do is try to get these vertices. Someone corrected me on this. You're going to have to probably correct me again. One vertex, many vertices. Yes, you wrote in and you said it annoyed you that that I'd always say many vertexes or something along those lines. So just for you, I'm going to try to use the right terminology here. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to create sort of the back of the ear. That's sort of what I'm stretching out here, but as you all know, the ear kind of stays quite close to the head around the front. And now, around, let's see here, the ear, I don't want it to go too high. I sort of want to give it a bit of a lobe there. I'm just sort of seeing what I need to do in order to make that happen. Now I can do one of two things. I can just extrude this, which is probably what I'm going to do, or I can add a circle and just fill in the gaps. But then that sort of brings me back to square one again. So I'm going to stretch that out and bring that down a little bit, rotate it a little bit maybe to get a bit of a conch shell. Let's see what's happening here. Yep, he's starting to look a bit like Shrek. That's about right. Around here, we really do need to try to keep this part of the ear quite flat, although it won't really matter in the end because this will kind of be hidden by some hair eventually. And so I'll just go ahead and select those vertices of the ring again and extrude it again in the X direction. Might sort of scale these in a little bit. I want to start getting the vertices to start looking like an ear should. So we can start maybe bringing some of these bits in so to give it sort of that, you know, how the ear sort of flares out around the back. And keep in mind this is going to be a fairly cartoony looking ear, so that's why I'm not trying to make it too complicated. I might go into edge mode, select one edge, Control E, edge loop select, so that I can then extrude and scale this in a little bit. It's going to start looking a little bit like an Aardman kind of a thing to begin with. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it may not be quite what I need to do for this character. Finally extrude again and move that in so that we can begin to get this sort of a fold of the ear. And because I don't want anything too much more complicated than that, I'm going to extrude, scale, click, then hit S0 to scale in. Going to hit my A key twice, then go down to my mesh tools and remove doubles. That set tells me that it's going to remove 7 duplicate vertices. Control N just to recalculate normals. And there I've got my rudimentary ear. And whoa, yeah. He's got a bit of a Shrek kind of a do. So I'm going to reveal the rest so that I know what I'm kind of getting myself into. And begin to select a couple of edge loops just by shift selecting the edge on the ring and sort of looking at what I've got selected. See if I think there's another edge loop that I could probably select there, and just rotate down and move down. You can see how the top of the head here, these vertices here, they really sort of need to come down a bit in the system. I'm going to rotate this view. As you can see, just sort of getting the vertices in the right place is always the greater task, isn't it?